And possible direction regarding an implementation plan for a special district to fund infrastructure for Activity Center 6 and 10. City Manager, this be your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am going to turn it over to Deputy City Manager, Mr. Jason Yarborough, to lead us through a presentation and discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. The City Commission at the July 23rd budget workshop gave some consensus about us staff working on an implementation plan for a special district to provide infrastructure for the northeast part of the city, which is AKA Activity 6 and 10. And that's how we got here. And staff's done a lot of research. We've been working with the various departments that would need to put in infrastructure in the 6 and 10. We've worked with the city attorney's office and outside counsel, and now we're back to kind of have a conversation. So Activity 6 and 10, I'm going to start throwing out some statistics. Michael Merriman previously said there were about 1,500. So Activity 6 is actually 1,750 acres, and Activity Center 10 is actually 1,941 acres, but combined they're a little over 3,600 acres. More importantly, besides their size, which is phenomenal, they are strategically clustered around our third interchange. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but just for the record, the City Commission went through a long multi-year process to rezone the city so as to rebalance our tax base and move away from over-reliance on residential tax base to more commercial industrial. As a result of that, 6 and 10 are kind of like the major cornerstone of rebalancing our tax base away from residential, which is and more to commercial industrial. As I'm quoting statistics you probably already have memorized, but on average, currently, or prior to the rezoning, we were about 8% commercial / industrial. With the rezoning, we're about between 16 and 17%. We're still not at the ideal, which is like 25%, but I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to drive around Venice or the city of Sarasota. And even though we're larger in population, our non-residential development is woefully small compared to those other two cities, even though we're 4 times the size of Venice and about almost 50%, 40 to 50% larger than the city of Sarasota. So there are key things that need to happen from an infrastructure perspective in order to make Activity Center 6 and 10 fully and optimized, developed. First of all would be bringing water and sewer into the heart of those two districts. There are some things you can do, and Mr. Merriman alluded to that. Some of the larger parcels may be able to do their own water and sewer plants. It's not ideal. It is a nightmare from an operations perspective, but it's doable. When you have hundreds of acres, you can definitely do that. But that's only a portion of Activity 6 and 10. Centralized water and sewer is ideal. Also, the other thing is, besides water and sewer and other infrastructure we'll talk a little bit more about, the interchange itself. The interchange is really relying upon, based off some input we got from the Metropolitan Planning Organization, Raintree and Yorkshire have to be extended. They need to be extended east into DeSoto County, and they need to be extended further into Charlotte County and link up with veterans so that you have a connectivity corridor. The other thing is we probably won't be required to widen those two roads, as well as put in traffic signalization where they cross Price. So without those road network improvements, the interchange is slim chance it's going to happen. In fact, it won't happen because we've already been given our feedback about that. So you've got various infrastructures that need to be done and how you do that. So special district is a good, solid plan. And staff's recommending, and we'll go into more detail, but a two-phased approach. We get started out of the grade immediately as fast as we can with the creation of a dependent district that's created by the city, and then that dependent district would be absorbed by an independent district, which would be created by the state legislature. And we've already seen several of these. Welland Park's a perfect example of a state-created improvement district, and you see the good things that are coming out of the ground in Welland Park as a result of that district. This special district concept, it advances strategic pillar 3, which is economic development and growth management. Oop, going backwards. So again, Activity Center 6 is predominantly commercial, industrial, and residential mix. It's about 62% non-residential, AKA commercial industrial, and about 34% with a new rezoning. High density residential. Activity Center 10 is about 87% non-residential, AKA commercial industrial, and about 10% high density residential. But why does it matter? You know, I talked earlier about tax base and moving away from residential. That's not really financially sustainable. That's one of the reasons why the commission at the time made a decision to rezone large swaths of land in the city, is to move away from residential, over-reliance on residential tax base, because it's not really financially sustainable. It's not, it's not. And then the other thing is, about 90% of our eligible workforce leaves the city limits to go find jobs. For a city of 100,000, that's weird. It's not normal. It's unusual. You don't want to do that. That's not how you want to be as a community. I mean, you've got people spending hours and hours in their car. They're not being with their families. They're not volunteering in your community. It's just an unusual way to, and displacement of focus. So we really need to bring the jobs back to Northport, and Activity 6 and 10 with their full optimized development is the way to do that. One of the ways to do that. Also, we have a ton of new businesses starting, as Mr. Merriman's stats showed, but and Commissioner Vice Mayor Langdon hit on it, is that we don't have vertical buildings for them to grow from their home-based business into a storefront or to a structure that's separated from their residence. And so that's one of the things that 6 and 10 can do with their development, is to bring all kinds of various sized commercial and industrial space that people can grow into. Once they kick off and start off at home, they need a place to grow to. So we need small, medium, and large commercial and industrial spots for them, structures for them to grow into their business and take it to the next level. So again, what's needed to activate 6 and 10? Well, the interchange is important, but water and sewer is probably the most important, or the top. But because you could still get some development in 6 and 10 with water and sewer brought deep into the heart of those two activity centers. But if you want to optimize and maximize the development of 6 and 10, you're going to need the interchange. And the interchange, like I said before, you're going to need to extend Yorkshire and Raintree, and you're probably going to need to widen them and then add traffic signalization to where they cross Price. So the other thing, like I said before, is water and sewer, but you're also going to probably need some more robust stormwater if you want to take it off the backs of the development community. You could do more robust stormwater master plan and implementation like you would see in Welland Park. You're going to need multimodal elements, improvements, and the special districts will be able to pay for all this. The other thing is, like, and we're hearing a lot of feedback, is for 6 and 10, they want to know about the electricity. They want to know about the fiber. They want, like if you were to put in a data center needs fast connection to the internet. So fiber is the way to do that. Also, the other thing is like some of the manufacturing data centers requires electricity. So say a data center needs 1 million megawatts of power. That's $25 million bill from Florida Power and Light. So these are the various infrastructures. The other thing is Activity 6 and 10 is broken up into a lot of bitty tiny parcels. There are some large parcels, and we have some investors and developers who are gobbling them up and aggregating them. But another thing that the district could possibly do is aggregate by buying properties, redeveloping, replatting, and then partnering with developers to make things happen. Because the city, I'm not saying the city should, but it's something to consider. The city may be better able to aggregate property than individual investors, or run simultaneously with investors at the same time. So we're going to need to partner with DeSoto County and Charlotte County on the beefing up the connectivity to make the interchange happen. And again, the special district concept is probably the best way that we have, the best tool in the toolbox that we have to do that. So what is a special district? It's a limited purpose local government entity. It's created to finance, construct. It can also maintain and operate assets. It has the ability to levy ad valorem taxes, assessments, non-ad valorem, and service charges. And it links, if from an assessment perspective, it links back to the property that gets the benefit. So one of the messages we want to stay on target with is the assessment route allows the people who are going to get the most benefit from the infrastructure in 6 and 10 and the interchange, which is the property owners in 6 and 10. So the people who are going to get the most benefit should pick up the bill for the infrastructure, and that's what an assessment-based system using special districts would do. A dependent district, like I said, could be created by the city relatively fast. The one caveat we have with that, you can create a special district relatively fast, but getting it on the tax rolls requires you to do like a uniform method of collection resolution, and you would have to do that by January of the year you're going to put it on the tax roll. That's one of the reasons why, when we get further in the timeline, why we wouldn't necessarily be able to do it in 2026. One of the caveats for a dependent district is because it's created by the city, it's going to have the same limitations on borrowing as the city's charter has. But it doesn't prevent the district, a dependent district, it doesn't prevent the city from using that revenue and then going through court validation processes to explore certificates of participation and traditional bank loans and those kind of things. The financial reporting, it's the same thing as you've already seen with your fire district, your road and drainage district, and your solid waste district. It's audited with the rest of the city. The reporting is incorporated. And then an independent district, the state legislature would need to create by special act an independent district, and it has its own board, and but one of the benefits is the independent district would not have the limitation that our charter has on the ability to borrow, because it's fully created by the state. That limitation isn't necessarily in there. But the finances would be audited separately, and it would be a completely independent entity. However, there are ways that the city could still be integrated into an independent district. One of the ways would be for an independent district, the city commission can't appoint the entire board, but you could appoint the majority of the board. City commission can't remove any of the board members, but if you made 4 of your own people as part of the 4 of 5, I'm not saying you should do that, but you get the point of how that would work. And then the third is that you wouldn't be able to remove anybody, but you also wouldn't be able to approve their budget. But again, if you appointed 4 of your own, onto the board, you still have control. The other way to do that also is, instead of trying to recreate an administrative arm for an independent agency, you could also have that independent agency or independent district contract for the city for like administrative management and operations. So you don't want to, you want to make your money go far, you want your money to do capital projects, you don't want your money being spent on a lot of administrative red tape and reinvent the wheel. We've already got a really good management, and we've already got a great administration. You would want to, I would recommend that you consider, if you go this route, you would, the district, independent district would contract with the city for this. And a lot of these I've already hit on, so I'm not going to re-communicate those. We talked about that. You know, from a process perspective, how this would work. It's all driven by the Florida statute. We would work on if the city commission decided to go in this direction, on the dependent district, we would propose working on an ordinance this 2026, and then it would be, y'all would pass that, and then you would do a resolution of a uniform method of collection, which would allow you to put your assessment on the tax bill, and then you would start collecting monies in 2027. At the same time, in 2026, because of the two-phased approach, you would start working with your legislative delegation on drafting a special bill. That special bill would then be heard by the legislative delegation those delegation hearings are usually at the end of the year, so that would be done towards the end of fall of 2026. And then the entire legislation action or during legislative session would happen during 2027, and then you would start seeing money flowing in from the independent district in 2028. It could possibly happen in 2027. It all depends on the calendar for that legislative session. So you may be wondering, why would staff recommend a two-phase approach? Well, the primary reason is to get straight out of the gate and get the money flowing in as soon as possible, because before you start building it, you got to engineer it, you got to plan it, you got to make sure it's all linked up, you got to do a methodology, and the methodology for the dependent district would be almost a cut and paste for the independent district. And then the idea being is that in phase two, the independent district would absorb the dependent district. And then you would have not the same limitations that the dependent district has based off of our charter. Now, if something unfortunate happened, like the independent district didn't get approved, you would still have money flowing in, you could still do projects. So it's kind of a safety in a way, another way of looking at it, as we looked at it. And I'm not going to read all this good stuff. And it was also in the memo we talked about previously. Oh, that was attached. I'm not going to go a little bit more into the engagement strategy or communication. It's important. The three main things we want to communicate in engagement: first of all, this is about bringing jobs back into Northport. Second of all, this is about moving away from an over-reliance on residential tax base. And third of all, it is about making sure that growth pays for growth. In other words, the taxpayer out in Welland Park or the taxpayer in the legacy part of town, they're not going to be on the hook for this. It's going to be for the property owners that are in activities 6 and 10 that are going to pay the bill for the infrastructure that's coming in, along with grants and any state appropriations we're able to get. But that's the important thing. A lot of people get real sensitive. They like the idea of improvements, but they don't want to pay for it. And in this case, and we've had contact with property owners in 6 and 10, and they're real excited about the idea of infrastructure coming out there and making their property more valuable. And the people who benefit the most are the ones that really should pick up the bill. And this method or this plan would do that. We will need a lot of coordination We, from the road network perspective, for the interchange, we'll need to work with DeSoto County, we'll need to work with Charlotte County. But for the legislative coordination, to making sure the independent district gets approved, we're gonna have to work with all three counties and our delegates to make sure that happens, if this is the direction the city commission decides to go. Again, I'm not gonna go back over it. This is just a kind of a regurgitation of what's already been recommended. And then what are the next steps? Staff has a whole list of 5 consensuses. We'd be seeking consensus to direct the city manager and city attorney to draft ordinance establishing the dependent district in 2026. And then another consensus for the city commission to consider directing the city manager and city attorney for a resolution for the uniform method of collection, which would put it on the tax bill for fiscal year 2027. And a third consensus staff will be seeking direction on is for the city manager, direct the city manager to develop and advance a legislative concept, coordinating with the Florida legislative delegation and the city's contracted lobbyists for the 2027 regular legislative session to create an independent special district with merging language. In other words, absorbing the dependent district into the independent district. And then fourth, staff will be seeking consensus to direct the city manager to develop the assessment methodology for the proposed districts. And then finally, staff will be seeking consensus to direct the city manager to seek assistance from Sarasota, DeSoto, and Charlotte County on the legislative action to create the independent district, as well as whatever's needed for the I-75 interchange potentially. And with that, thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Happy to lead off on this one. Great presentation. If there was ever a way, or if we ever found ourselves in a position to set the course for this city for the next 50 years, it is this right here. If we're gonna have any chance of maintaining property tax rates anywhere near where they are now and not experiencing double and triple the property taxes, this is the project that's got to get done. Leaving it to the property owners who are out there to cobble together a special district. It's doable. It's certainly been done before. God knows how long it would take, certainly beyond my years on the dais and probably my years on this earth. So I would say that controlling your own destiny is the direction to go here. This, if there was an example of how to do it so growth pays for growth, this is how to do it, because it will assess the property owners within that geographic area, and as it should. Look at what it's done. You cited Welland Park, perfect example. Okay, there they are a true independent district, yet they are not controlled by the developer, but they control, their employees control the board until such time as it's mostly built out and can turn over and be run by, a board of property owners. If we were to leave this in the hands of speculators and developers, I don't think that's as wise as doing this as a city. And I like the idea that in the early stages, we set up the structure, we start to generate tax revenues for it. We're bound by the same financial constrictions as a city that we are presently. And at a point down the road, a year or so out, when we go to the legislature, if in fact this becomes an independent district, then it'll have its own board, it'll be regulated. There's a whole lot of reporting processes that go on. But this is the way to get this done. Short of this, there is no other way. The city taxpayers in Northport, in their wildest dreams, we could not support the cost of developing these 2 activity centers on our backs. There's no way on God's green earth. It's gotta be done by the developers and property owners who own the land in Activity Center 6 and 10. That's the way to get it done. I'm totally supportive of this, and every one of the consensuses staff's looking for, so I yield.
Vice Mayor.
For the first time in 5 years, I am optimistic that we're really going to be able to put this city financially on a road to a much brighter future. And I really want to compliment you, Deputy City Manager, and everyone who worked on this proposal. This is, and I won't repeat Commissioner Stokes, but this is the work we have to get done, and sooner rather than later. You know, for some time now, I've sat on the Metropolitan Planning Organization for about 4 years. And in the time I've been involved, we've been playing chicken and egg with the Florida Department of Transportation regarding what comes first, the interchange or infrastructure. And the reality is FDOT is not going to move on building that interchange until this city starts improving the infrastructure. So there is no choice here. This is something we have to do. The special district is, as far as I can tell, not only the best way to go, but the only way to go without having the burden of the costs of infrastructure falling on the city citywide, as Commissioner Stokes mentioned. So I am delighted with this. Whatever you need, you know, let's get it done. We've got to get this done sooner rather than later. And thank you so much for the work and for the presentation. It's terrific.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Duvall.
Thank you, Mayor. Included in your included in your presentation, there was a memorandum.
Yes, sir.
There's a paragraph that says, in contrast, an independent district created by special act of the state is not bound by the city's debt limitations, allowing access to more traditional capital financing methods, including revenue bonds. And my question is, those revenue bonds, would they be paid for by the special district, the independent district, or by all of the taxpayers of the city?
No, it would be on the backs of the independent district, which would be localized to Activity 6 and 10 property owners. It wouldn't be citywide.
And if I could interject, like in Welland Park, literally, there are master debt obligations and then individual areas and zones, so that those activity centers may well break down and they're separate financials, but always tied to the property owners within that district, so it doesn't fall on the backs of the rest of the city.
Correct, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I had to ask.
No, yeah, it's good, excellent question, and that's the message we want to get out. This is not on the backs of all the taxpayers of Northport. This is localized to the property owners in Activity 6 and 10, who are going to get the most benefit from the
Also,
infrastructure.
could I ask, because now we're talking DeSoto County,
Right,
Charlotte County,
right.
what's our best bet as to, are we gonna work together, or is it gonna be a knocking of heads?
No.
We want this, and we won't give in until
No.
we get.
We have an excellent working relationship with Charlotte County. I mean, we're in Sarasota, but we have more in common from some perspectives with Charlotte County than we do with Sarasota. And we have an excellent working relationship. City Manager Fletcher has an awesome relationship with County Manager Hector Flores. So I don't think it's going to be knocked down. I think both counties want the interchange to happen. They're both going to have to pony up money to increase their portion, because we can't take money outside and let it go out. We can't spend on things in their county. We can only stay inside our sandbox. So they're going to have to pony up money, but we have an excellent relationship. I mean, it's taken 94 but you've got the Cranberry Hillsborough improvements. That was a 50-50 cost share between us and the Charlotte County. We play well together, and I don't foresee it being a posturing or, my way or the highway. That's just not how we play ball with those two counties.
Thank you.
Commissioner Petro.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, do we have to do both independent district?
No, you don't. It was just staff's way to get the money flowing as fast as possible. Otherwise, you're going to probably have to wait till 2028 if you just do the independent. Or if you don't do the independent, the other thing is, it's a fail-safe in case something wacky happens up in Tallahassee. You can control the dependent district in its formation. You're at the whims of others with the independent. So it allows you to still be able to move forward. Now, you would still, like I said before, I mean, you would have to explore going through a court validation process for like certificate of participation or other financing mechanisms if you just use the dependent, but it is doable. The other thing I forgot to mention was districts can levy millage. I'm not saying you should do that, but they can. With a dependent, your millage is mixed with the city's millage for a total cap of 10 mills, whereas an independent district has its own millage independent of your city cap of 10. It would be on top of your cap of 10.
That's a good point. I do think we putting the cart before the horse, and the reason is, I'll be very clear. We keep referencing Welland Park as an example, but the city did not have to create independent district in the Welland Park. Am I correct?
The city had to approve it, yes. Yeah, I mean, we were, if I remember right, I mean, this happened 20 plus years ago, but the city was part of it, of the approval process, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, at the end of the day, it required a special legislative act up in Tallahassee, but yeah.
Yes, so there are, especially in District Activity Center 6, there are a number of homes are built and people live there. Are they going to be? They probably.
I think that would be a decision that you are going to have to decide. Maybe you want to carve out, because you already carved out a part of 6 to remain single-family residential. Maybe you want to carve them out, but they won't be getting sewer either, and they won't be getting centralized water. And that you may want to we may want to have a conversation with that neighbor. Maybe they don't want water. Maybe they don't want sewer, and maybe you carve them out and you don't make them part of that. These are nuances that will have to be worked out.
I just think that the current residents that live there would be paying for the services that might not be of interest to them, and in fact, they already paid impact fee for that, and a lot of them will be paying for something that they might not even enjoy or use, because this is not going to happen in a year or two. But if they sell it or they move out, so my question is, how do we go about those people? We have to respect.
Easy. You can create, you can make a decision that you're going to carve them out, and if somebody wants to buy in at a later date, they pay their water and sewer capital connection charges, plus any other additional charges that y'all deem necessary in order to make the district whole, and have them buy in at a later date. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat. It doesn't have to be one way or this way or the highway. There's a lot of different ways to handle it. You probably want to carve out that. Remember that one neighborhood where you left the zoning residential, you probably don't want to include them because they're, anyway, they're not zoned for that. They're zoned residential, and you may want to, but before you do that, you may want to have a conversation with the property owners in there to see if they're interested.
I'm just trying to figure out, I guess we're not showing the entire picture, and the real question is, why are we rushing this in to do that? And at the earlier presentations, we were told that there's 240 acres already owned by one.
400.
400.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's even better. It's 400 acres that is owned by one developer.
Correct.
So they might want to create something on their own, or they will have to be compelled to do something on their own, because I'm sure they have something in plans to do that, because 400 acres is a lot.
Absolutely.
And it's like we are going and subsidizing again some developers and putting the tax burden on someone else. But the real question is, what is the rush to do that?
Well, you can choose. Maybe you don't want to bring water and sewer out to activity 6 and 10. You think somebody's going to do it on their own. You're still going to have to make road network improvements if you're going to have the third interchange happen. And it's got to be paid for somehow. So maybe you don't want to bring water and sewer out there. Maybe you want the district just to make road network improvements that are going to make the interchange happen. And you're going to rely on free market forces to bring water and sewer. It's an interesting way of doing it, but you could do it that way if that's the way you want to do it.
Compels me to think maybe we doing this as a city to have property owners to unload whatever they own, and someone else will be buying them and do a complete revamping of the area. I'm not sure. But my real question is, do we have a master plans for activity centers 6 and 10?
No, we don't have a master plan for 6 and 10. I mean, I'll ask Miss Elena Ray, Development Services Director, to come down, but we don't have a master plan. Because at the end of the day, whatever you design, market forces and property owners have their own ideas.
Good afternoon. So a master plan really is intended to demonstrate what could go in an area. We worked very hard and very long to establish Activity Center 10 and modify Activity Center 6 through the comprehensive plan and ULDC process. We talked at length about doing a master plan for Activity Center 6, Activity Center 10, or one master plan for all of it. At the end of the day, we know where Yorkshire's going. It's already there. It just needs to be widened. We know where Raintree is. We know where Hillsborough and Veterans are. We know the interchanges are going in. At the end of the day, it is a market issue as to exactly where in Activity Center 6 and 10 certain uses happen. We already have some larger parcels in certain areas of Activity Center 10 that would be conducive to development now if they had water, sewer, and electricity. Activity Center 6, a third of that is already taken by one owner who has his own vision for what he wants to do. In that instance, a master plan would be redundant. That person already owns all of that land. They have their plan that they want to do. In Activity Center 10, really we just need the infrastructure and the development will come. We already know what uses are allowed. We've left it very open as to what uses are allowed from an industrial and commercial perspective, because we essentially need everything. We don't need just one type of use or two types of uses. We need everything out there. So a master plan would really at the most, give you a bubble that says all of these uses can go in these areas. But we already have that with the comprehensive plan.
Since that developer owns majority of that activity center 6, doesn't he have any plans, or would he has to have some plans?
So what he would have to do at this point to develop out there is he would have to put in his own self-contained sewer and water system.
Or run lines back to.
Or run lines back, which is extremely expensive. And when you're running lines back, all of those other properties in between, now they have access to that. So there is a benefit to a special district putting it in, and then those properties, as they develop, they're still going to be paying impact fees to hook up and for improvements. So the advantage to doing the special district is to get the funding to do that in advance, because that spurs the development faster. If a developer is going into a parcel on 41 that already has access to water and sewer, or to the interchanges at Toledo Blade and Sumter where they already have water and sewer, or to an interchange or property in Charlotte County that already has water and sewer, they're going to be much more apt to go to one of those places than they are to AC 6 or 10, because it's going to cost them a whole lot more. But if there's a district in place, that funding is already coming in, the district is able to put in some of those utilities. It will spur that development to occur much faster, so that they will develop there rather than going to Charlotte County or Lee County. And then the district or the city is still going to be collecting the impact fees when those individual properties hook up.
I do understand the independent district directly benefits the city, which is a good thing. Let them have whatever they want to do. Let the market dictate. As a city, to interject and do something and stimulate that area, and paying just dependent district, I'm not really in favor of that. So, and there could be a couple reasons why we are rushing to do this, to have property owners to unload whatever the inventory they have, so that could be consolidated with certain specific developers, or doing a favor for that specific developer, or for that matter, any developer.
Staff has had no conversations about doing a favor for the developers. That's not happened. We have received, when we go and market, as part of economic development, we market, do you have water and sewer there? Do you have power there? Do you have fiber there? And our answer is no, and then tumbleweeds come across, and we lose contact with those people. So we have had no conversations about doing favors for the development community.
So that brings me to this question, and I was asking that question earlier about utilities, and that could be, I don't know if you can answer those questions for the water main. We do have water main going along the Price to an activity center 6, correct? It just needs to be extended, and
Yeah, I mean, it kind of terminates will terminate where the charter school, but I don't know if it's enough size depends on what came in 6 and 10. We also have 100 acres of utility land up in that area that was envisioned for another utility site. That may be an option as well. So that may be an option as well.
how much expensive, or what are we talking about in terms of amount of?
I don't know. It depends. You tell me what's going to come in 6 and 10, and I'll tell you how much it's going to cost. Probably about 60 million if I had to go off the top of my head.
Just the water?
Water and sewer, and some road stuff. Just first blush, don't hold me to it. That's just first blush. But if you can tell me what's going to come in 6 and 10, I can give you a whole lot better number. We don't know.
We don't know, yes. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Stokes.
Yeah, I don't know where the idea that this is like all of a sudden some bum rush deal. I don't know. I kind of think that this planning's been in the works for years and years and years. Well before the ULDC and comp plan work and all the efforts that have gone into aligning the city in a position to be able to take advantage of these two activity centers. You know, why the rush? Well, I don't want my taxes to go up anymore. I don't want to have to keep paying, and more people keep moving here residentially, and the cost of providing all those services continue to fall on the backs of us residential taxpayers. So delay it 5 years, delay it 10 years, we're just going to keep paying more and more and more and more and more, and there's no denying it. It's going to happen. The answer is to allow and to promote and to nurture the development in these two activity centers. The sooner the better. Should have happened a long time ago, but it didn't. Special districts are the way to go here. And dependent districts, okay, it'd be nice to think that a dependent district could do all the things that an independent district could do. Not so. Okay, not so, especially in the area of financing its infrastructure. There's only so much you can do. As a dependent district, you are bound by the city's borrowing limits and everything else, okay? So it makes it that much more difficult. An independent district can do what it needs to do. It needs to financially be sound. It needs to be able to service its debt that it incurs, but it falls on the backs of the property owners within those two activity centers within that special district. And as Deputy City Manager said, we can do a lot of things to try to accommodate some of those residential property owners in and around those activity centers. But the reality is those two activity centers are the salvation for this city. Again, if we, future commissions, choose not to do this, that's fine. Plan on doubling your property taxes because you can't sustain the population growth with tax revenues from residential taxpayers. It is not sustainable. We are heading into the hole between all our CIP projects and all the costs of day-to-day operations. This city cannot survive on 9, 10, 11, 12% commercial tax base. It can't. So is there a rush? Damn right there is. Is it something we all of a sudden woke up yesterday and decided to do? No way, Commissioner. This has been in the plans for a long time, carefully thought out, carefully planned out. It takes the ability to see the big picture and understand what the unintended consequences are of delaying this process, because there is no other solution. To sit around and wait for a bunch of developers to figure out what and how they're going to fund their infrastructure is a dream. You'll be dead. I'll definitely be dead, but you'll probably be dead. The city needs to take this bull by the horns and get these two areas developed, because otherwise I can tell you, FDOT, they'll find plenty other places to spend money, and it'll be goodbye Yorkshire Exchange, and without that, we're in deep doo-doo. So I'm telling you, if somebody can think this through in a better way, fine. The only people that aren't grasping this are the people who haven't spent the time and thought this thing through, because give me alternatives. I'm all wide open to all the alternatives. Nobody has any alternatives except let's not do anything. And look at how well that worked for us on Price Boulevard. So, I yield.
Commissioner Duvall.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Manager, I'm going to use an example here. In Syracuse, New York, right now, they're building a chip plant. It's going to employ 5,000 workers.
Yes, sir.
That's what we need, okay? We have restaurants coming in, we're working on workforce housing. The SMH, that's the biggest thing we've got economically coming in.
For now. Yes, sir.
For jobs. do we have any companies, industries that are interested in saying, if we get this interchange, we get this infrastructure, we will be there? Do we have any that are currently,
Yes,
that we can name?
I can't name,
It's-
non-disclosed, I can't.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see this as, it's that circle, we want the interchange, the state wants us to have the water and sewer.
The state doesn't care about the utilities, they care about the road network and the connectivity. But you would have an interchange with nothing really happening around it because there would be no water and sewer there to make it happen. So it's kind of they kind of come together. Yeah, the state doesn't care about water and sewer, the state cares about the road network. And
Yeah, I
improvements.
was just trying to look at it from the idea of, if we had, the names of some industries that were willing to come in, then we can go to the state and say, hey, get this infrastructure for the interchanges built a little faster.
The state,
Because it'll
the state
mean
has.
revenue for the state besides.
I apologize, Commissioner. The state's told us. Yeah, we've got software companies and data,
Technology, research and development, high-tech research and development are the big ones. Very high-paying jobs.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah. But the state or the Metropolitan Planning Organization has already given us our marching orders. They've told us specifically what roads need to be extended, and there's a high likelihood they also need to be widened, as well as traffic signalization. So we've been given our marching orders what it's going to take in order to land the interchange.
Good. City clerk, any public comment?
There is none.
None, okay. I'll be looking for some consensuses.
I'll kick us off. I'd like a consensus to direct the city manager and the city attorney to draft an ordinance establishing a city-created, dependent special district for commission consideration in early 2026.
You got that, city clerk?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBall?
Okay, from the information that was given, it was gonna be CDD first and then the independent special district. Sorry. The way you worded it, it sounded like you were asking for the independent special district first.
No, I said create a city-created dependent special district.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Still need a yea or nay, sir.
Hey,
Yes, no?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner
Atta
Stokes?
boy.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm in.
Mr. Petro? He's a no. Second, even more consensuses?
I'll go again.
You have, I
No,
don't
no.
have them in front of me, that's why if you can.
They're right there on your sheet.
then maybe
Put your
I'll put my
glasses on,
glasses
Commissioner.
Nice little shorties.
I'll do consensus too. Direct the city manager and city attorney to prepare a resolution of intent to use the uniform method of collection under Florida statute 197.3632 for implementation beginning of fiscal year 27 for commission consideration.
Do you have that, city clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner DeBall?
Yes.
Mr. Stokes?
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Question, is that for independent?
That's option number 2 on your sheet.
Yes, I'm reading it. But to prepare a resolution of intent to use the uniform method of collection under For 187, I have not read the statute.
That would need to be done regardless of whether it's dependent or independent district.
Yes.
All right.
I'll do a consensus number 3.
Okay.
To direct city manager to develop and advance a legislative concept coordinating with the Florida legislative delegation and the city's contracted lobbyist for the 2027 regular session to create a state-authorized independent special district with merging language. And I think that's specific to the independent district, assuming the dependent
Correct.
district.
I'm going to start off with you, Commissioner Petro.
Yes.
Good, because that's what you wanted. Thank you.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
All right. Any more?
Yep. Authorize city manager to develop the assessment methodology for the proposed districts. That needs to be done.
Got that, City Clerk? Yes. Commissioner Duval?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
All right.
I'll do the last one.
Okay.
Authorize city manager to seek assistance from Sarasota, DeSoto, and Charlotte counties on legislative action to create the independent special district, including support related to the future Yorkshire Raintree interchange on State 75.
Good with that one, too? Okay. Commissioner Duval?
Yes.
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 All right.
Commissioners, thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, sir. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
City Clerk, do we have any general public comment? We're out of here at 1:33.
Great.